All right, so we'll start with Liz's class, which was the Algebra 2 class, and we'll just, anyone want to start with what they noticed or observed?
Okay.
Okay.
I noticed, I felt like everybody was having math conversations. I wrote down some kind of things that I heard them say, like, is this good? Like, I think they had done it correctly, but they were confirming with their neighbor. Is this good? And I kind of like that. Some of them were my former students, so the one that said, is it good, was always a very strong student, and you could tell that they were both engaging and making sure they both understood. Another thing I noticed, obviously that was, I think, a pretty strong class, but I think there were some struggling kids in there too. That's where I always think about for my classroom, because we have everyone on all levels, but I do think there might have been some. I had another one said, I can't explain it, but then kept going on to explain it. And I think they just weren't confident in their answer. But to me, that was very encouraging, because you could say, I can't explain it, and stop, but they both kept going and having that conversation, which was a lot of engagement, right? I think that was.
I did happen to have talked to Liz before, and she said it was a little bit like they struggle.
Oh, really?
She said she has some lower kids in there. I know she has some higher kids, like you said, Mia is an 8th grader in algebra.
Yes.
But she does have kids in there that struggle.
Interesting.
Because they took algebra, they're juniors, they took algebra 2 with me, like online. You know what I mean? That's the group that's in algebra 2.
So it didn't feel like that, right? It felt like
Yeah.
a lot of conversations going on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, that's okay, go ahead.
I noticed the partnerships, and part of it is we've been in that room a couple times, and normally they're in quads. And so that was the first thing I noticed. And then in the partnerships, similar to you, Mary, the conversations were really back and forth. Did you get it right? Yes, you got it right. Now you have the fun one. Like, talking about the next problem was the fun one. And then they just kept going back and forth. Wait, do you swap? Oh, it's find the inverse. Do you swap X and Y? It felt very much like a think aloud.
Yes.
They were thinking aloud about their process, what they were considering doing, what they had tried. And then one other thing I noticed, and I think this is because we've been in there a couple times, in the partnerships, it seemed like engagement was higher than when we saw the quads, because there was a student that last time I zoomed in on who seemed very disengaged, and today she was the coach. And she was checking in on her partner, and she had a whole different, it was like she's the expert. And that was such a different feel than what we saw last time. So I thought that was a really interesting flip.
I noticed that too, but she still had her headphone in this time, which was interesting. But I wonder if it was in for like security reasons, like it feels comfortable. You know, like I have my security coffee that I bring with me.
Right.
Or like if she was actually listening. But that was a huge thing I noticed, like the level of engagement from last Tuesday compared to this Tuesday, just the power of the partnerships, the one-on-one collaboration. So I noticed the trio, it was the two sitting side by side were collaborating, and the one on the other side of the table was just kind of like nodding along, as if like, I wonder if like he just didn't have a role in that because he wasn't the player or the coach, so he didn't really know where he fit into that. I also noticed when the teacher was walking by, one student turned to ask her a question, and the partner immediately said, "Hey, you're supposed to ask me first. Like, I'm here to help you." And almost like, I'm offended, but I'm joking with you, kind of like way. So I thought that was pretty empowering for that student to be like, I can support you through this. You don't need her. Like, we're in this together. Sorry.
It's all right. No, it's okay. I just noticed, and this is again, because we've done this a couple times, like the gender. I don't know why, but I noticed like a couple groups of just 2 girls, couple groups of 2 boys, and then 1 or 2 groups of like a girl and boy. And so that kind of goes to my wondering. But I also noticed the pairs, and I noticed she had the player coach like roles and directions posted up on the board for everybody.
I noticed some boys who, they were comparing answers. And then they go, oh, wait, our problems are different. So we got different answers because our problems are different. And it was like became this conversation, oh, that's right for your problem. And then it was really nice that they, it became a great conversation because they had different problems. And so it was about the process, like where you put everything instead of, is this answer right or wrong?
Thinking about what you all been naming about the dynamics between the two working together. The status, I feel, with the player coach model is really lifted because each person is positioned as the knower, the doer, the teacher. Each person gets an opportunity to be the learner as well. But I think that this is a beautiful model or strategy to support in lifting a student or raising a student's status in the classroom, particularly when you think about how you might pair them. In the classroom, it will provide a space where it's a safe space to be the teacher or to be the knower of mathematics. And then later on, perhaps, if I'm not sure how she was going to continue today, but I'm wondering about how she, but yeah, I thought it was a beautiful way.
Yeah, I
And the
agree.
structures and expectations she set allowed them all to be positioned as competent. So I appreciated that.
It felt like that was a very safe space for all of them, for
Mhm.
sure, you know, like where they're all comfortable talking to each other. That's a big deal, right? Mhm.
Yeah, I feel like my noticings are all pretty similar, to what you all said. Everybody was, I thought everybody was
Yeah.
engaged, like I was looking, even the pairs that seemed quieter, they were still like talking to each other and checking in with each other. I heard one girl, a set of two girls say, that one was questioning, she's like, well, I don't know, and the other one was like, you know what you're doing, you're smart, you know, like that. Did you hear that one too? And it kind of led to my wondering, like, with the pairing, did she make those
That's what
pairs?
I
Did
wanted to
she
know.
let them
That
pick
was
their own?
that was my question. too.
And I would be curious what she thought about like the kids that maybe are considered like feel like they have a lower status. Did they feel like, did she see that? Did she feel that they felt that elevated? We had in our last think meeting, and specifically with this, our goal in mind, we met with Angie and we're like, which of our study team teaching strategies would specifically elevate status? And this was one of the ones as a department that we thought was a good one. And so that's why you're hearing that.
Gotcha.
We happen to be doing player coach and pre-calc. It just kind of came out of that conversation.
That's great.
Are we on our noticings
Yeah.
or is it just generic?
I mean, you can move on to wonderings if everybody's
I
like
was-
mentioned.
Yeah, I was gonna say one thing I noticed for the engagement was I saw kids reaching and pointing and like really like you're here and whatever. And then I guess since everybody did their noticings, I wonder if the activity does indeed elevate the status for the students, because like we see it as that, you know, and they do seem really engaged, and I wonder how they feel about that, you know. It seems like when I talk to them as a large group, they say, yeah, I liked that activity, you know, I liked having the answers or whatever, but I wonder how long that lasts them, you know, and how deep is that improvement for that.
Do they feel like, oh, I could do that
Yeah,
today? And
Yeah.
like, do they carry that through?
right,
Like
to the next time when they don't have the
Right,
answer key
right, but
always,
right.
or.
I still do kind of
Mhm.
know,
Mhm.
I have something of value.
I think my only wonder was thinking about, like you already said, how are the groups made?
Mhm.
And what happens if you have a really big struggler as a partner, which we all have, someone who really doesn't know how to even explain a problem. What would you do in that situation is what I was thinking. Cause I love the feel of this. I love the way it looked. That would be my concern. You know, I feel like if you're having kids work on things, there's always the few that you maybe go help. And I don't know if we're working on truly what we're doing, if they could explain it to another person, and then that might be embarrassing. Do you put the couple lower kids together and give them maybe that could be something, give them maybe something a little lighter, but in the same same topic, you know,
Mhm.
I'm not sure about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, like the differentiated.
Yeah.
Cause I wondered that too. I don't know if you guys noticed the two up front,
Mm-hmm.
but she did. She said something like to the one student, like, well, coach him through this, like, you're like kind of reminding him, and then she told the other student, well, you and I will work on this at lunch. So it did make me wonder if like that student maybe is kind of like what Mary's talking about, somebody who struggles and then the other student wasn't necessarily coaching him. I don't know.
Yeah, well,
So
she said to also, don't go ahead. It's like they were
Right.
looking for the ones they understood,
Stood.
which I
yeah,
get that too,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah,
she said, stick with the one
one
that we're,
that
that you're on. You
you're
gotta
on.
get through this one before you get to that
Yeah.
one, right?
So I think-
wonder how she might have used like not the huddle, but how she might have allowed them to be assigned.
Oh.
If they didn't get it,
Yeah.
take a look at, so
So-
that
Oh,
way
yeah.
they still can be positioned as the knower, but they
Mhm.
might just need to get a little, some
Yeah.
assistance from one of the
Yeah.
other students.
Good.
Like listening on
Yeah.
how their team is explaining it.
Yeah,
Like that.
absolutely.
yeah, that is interesting.
I wonder too, because this is a great activity, but all the strategies like lose their luster if you do it all the time. And so I wonder what more we can continue to do.